Basically, good afternoon, everyone. Yesterday, we learned about basically on first aid and the life-saving issues during emergency. Today's part is more about the triage and the mass casualty management. So, what exactly is a mass casualty? What is triage? It's a very important component of the disaster management. And when we speak about the disaster and the disaster management, as I mentioned yesterday, our primary aim is to reduce the loss of life, to minimize the loss of life. So, how exactly we can do that? What is a systematic approach in mass casualty management? All these things which we are going to discuss today. And I'll be sharing my screen now. So I'll be opening a presentation. Through the presentation, we can go step by step regarding the various aspects related to this. Hope my screen is visible.
Yes, sir.
Sir.
Okay, the presentation is also visible now, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir, it's visible.
Okay, sir. Thank you. All right. So basically, we are starting with the very important issues that is related to the mass casualty management. So when I was preparing for this presentation properly, so yesterday I was seeing the visuals of Ayapaswamy temple at Kerala, which reminded us like mass casualty management is a very important issue that need to be addressed to all the cities and all the towns or all the states of the India. The reason is we have many religious occasions and the temples where there will be thousands and lakhs of people. If there is no proper crowd management, that can result into stampede and death. Yesterday, most of you must have seen the visuals of the Ayapaswamy temple there at the Kerala, and many news channels also were highlighting were showing that how poorly the crowd was managed. Luckily, nothing much severe has happened, but in the past there was a stampede that was reported in the Ayapaswamy temple. So the mass casualty management and the triage is basically about that. It's about the crowd management and preventing mass casualties in such a situation. It's very important whenever we have religious occasions. For example, in Karnataka, we have the Shera. We have many religious temples are there which are very popular. There will be thousands of people who will be visiting. So there is if there is a slightest probably a lacuna or slightest discrepancies in the service, that can result into a disaster, killing probably hundreds of people. So it is very important to remember the proper crowd management, and it's a duty of the administration to do that. Sorry, it's a duty of the administration to do that. So to start with, what exactly is disaster and disaster management? I'm sure this chapter was covered to you in the day one itself. So as we discuss about the disaster, I was telling about any situation which cannot be managed with a local administration, we cannot call it as a disaster. There are various definitions for this. Each organization has got a different definition. UNDP has got different definition, WHO, Red Cross, so everyone. But the total meaning of the disaster is any situation which cannot be controlled and which can occur with a little or a no warning at all, and which can cause serious disruption in the community and causing loss of human life, deterioration of the health services. So anything can happen during a disaster. And the types of disaster also, I'm sure that there was a session where they were mentioning about the types of disaster, natural and the man-made. So we are discussing now today, it's about both. It's basically the triage and the mass casualty management. That is a today's subject. It is basically about the man-made disaster, which can be technological, industrial, or security related issues also. So this is a classification of the disaster, which you can see here: meteorological, topographical, and environment. And this can be considered as a natural disaster, like uh, flood, tsunami, cyclone, earthquake, volcanic eruption. There are many such examples are there. And there is one category of environmental disaster, that is global warming and the climate change, which can combination of both the factors. El Nino, because of El Nino, it has been said that the drought we are facing in India, particularly in Karnataka, the southern part of the India, we are seeing the lack of rainfall. That is because of the El Nino phenomena. Most of you must be aware about the El Nino. It's nothing but the southern oscillation of the wind in the Pacific Ocean that can push the monsoon that is reaching to India. So the El Nino phenomena has been predicted, not this year only, but since last 10 years. Every year, American government is saying that India will be facing El Nino, and we are going to face severe drought. But luckily, we had sufficient rainfall every year except this year. But definitely, we hope and pray that there will be proper rainfall and proper balancing of the system also. All right. So regarding man-made disaster, that's where the mass casualty management comes into the picture. That is transport failure, public place failure, or fire, chemical spill, radioactive spill. For example, warfare related, war, terrorism, internal conflict, civil unrest. CBRNE means to say the biological, radiological, and nuclear emergencies, we call it as chemical, biological, CBRNE, chemical, biological, nuclear, and environment related. So yesterday there was, most of you must have seen the news yesterday. There were intruders inside the parliament carrying some kind of a gas, and it was initially suspected that it could be CBRNE. No, this was not given to the public, but they initially, the security were worried about whether if it is a CBRNE. CBRNE means to say whether it's if it's a chemical, biological, or radiological nuclear weapon that can be carried in a small tin. So present day terrorism, God knows, mad people, they can do anything to prove their point. But whatever it is, the nation should be prepared, and we should be prepared to face such disaster. But CBRNE is a real threat to the country. CBRNE means to say chemical, biological weapon. So biological weapon doesn't means it's a big bomb or something like that. A biological weapon can be carried in a plastic bottle also. We can infect the whole country with that biological weapon. And COVID, as you know, some people were saying that there were some reports about the biological weapon that's been prepared by the China during a testing process in the laboratory. There was a leak, and that resulted into many things. So this is only for, I think, speculation or discussion, we can say. But coming back to our point, so our country is prone for disaster every year. The number of the disaster is increasing. The frequency of the disaster is increasing. Particularly, northern part of India is facing a very heavy rainfall, unprecedented rainfall in the last 10 years, and that has caused flood, massive landslides, massive, so massive landslide. I have worked in Uttarakhand. These are the pictures from Uttarakhand in 2013. I have worked in Uttarakhand, and if you can see the landslide, it's so huge. The whole mountain is collapsed. That is, many factors are involved, not only because of rainfall. There are many things like excessive construction of the dam also could be one of the reason there. But the rainfall pattern is changing. Particularly northern India is facing very heavy rainfall every year. So this is again one of the thing. And you may be aware about the devastation that can be caused by earthquake. These are the flood like situation that happened in northern part. And lesson from Chennai flood, we don't learn any lessons from urban flood. We see these pictures, we repent, we actually respond to this, but at the same time we come back to the normalcy, we do the same mistake. So urbanization, planning of the urbanization is not happening. The smart cities are becoming a disasters. Believe me, earlier, before the smart cities were implemented, whenever there was a rainfall, there was proper drainage system. After the smart city is implemented, almost all the cities nowadays, if there is a rainfall for more than 1 hour, there will be a flooding. It is because of very poor implementation, very poor engineering by the implementation of smart cities. I have not seen. I will be traveling across Karnataka and across India. I will be seeing many smart cities, and to my shock, means to say not only me, to other people shock also. You'll be shocked to see that if there is a rainfall for 1 hour, there will be water stagnation for more than 2 feet. So that is happening because of poor implementation. It's a poor engineering, unprofessional work by God knows some agencies. So anyway, urban flooding is a phenomena that's happening now, and we need to be prepared for that. And yesterday, this part we didn't discuss. That's why I'm showing you now the mass casualty. If you look into the India map, you can see that we are prone to many disasters, and this is a map showing the disaster that happened in the last 30 years. And if you see the map of Karnataka, Karnataka is not prone for any such major disaster except the 2019, the 2018, if you remember, the Kodagu flood was the disaster that probably was a concern for us. And 2009 North Karnataka flood, 2018 North Karnataka flood again. But there was no major disaster that's been reported from Karnataka. We live in a geographical area which is safe, considered to be naturally safe. But due to climatic variation, so anything can happen in these areas. So remember the super cyclone that was in 1999, tsunami in 2004, and these were the worst flood-like situation that happened. So earthquake, that is major earthquake that was reported, it was in the Bhuj. If you remember, it was in 2001, and Latur in 1993, that has killed thousands of people. Okay, and so this is about the map of India showing the disaster and how much we are prone to the disaster. When we discuss about the mass casualty management, mass casualty incident management, we should be aware regarding how much we are prone to the disaster. So probably, if you look into the global map, Asia is prone for nearly 42% of the disaster. So 42% of the natural disaster are occurring in Asia, and compared to Europe, Oceania, Africa, and America. So we are highly prone. We live in a very unsafe area, not Karnataka, in general, in India or Asia. The tsunami has been reported here. The major earthquake has been reported here. Major cyclones have been reported here. So it's very important to remember that we need to be well prepared. The community need to be well prepared. Okay, and here earthquake related, more than 60% of the area, the landmass in India is prone to earthquake. We have a zoning system, the categorized from zone 1 to zone 5. And zone 5 means a very high intensity of earthquake can happen any time, wherever there is a fault line. Based on that, based on the incident that happened in the last 100 years, the statistics is given 60% of the areas prone to the earthquake. And if you look into the map of India, so regarding the zoning, so zone 5 means very high chances of earthquake that can happen here. So that is zone 5. Zone 4 is high risk, and zone 3 is moderate, and zone 2 is mild to moderate. So we fall under zone 2 and zone 3. We means to say the southern part of India, zone 2 and zone 3. But the tsunami was the best, or the, I can say, the tragic example that anything can happen in this part also. Nobody anticipated tsunami waves reaching to Indian Ocean. Nobody predicted the earthquake underneath the Indian Ocean. So we have now Indian Ocean tsunami warning system, but we don't have a tsunami warning system on the other side. That's the west coast in the Arabian Ocean, and the chances of earthquake beneath the ocean in Arabian Ocean is less, but that has been recorded more than 100 times. The tremors have been recorded in the Macron subduction zone, the zone between Gujarat and Pakistan. So that is a cause of concern for most of the agencies which are working towards the disaster preparedness and response. Okay, so what should be done during an earthquake? Yesterday, I was telling about this. In case of a college, most of the participants now are the professors in the college, and in college, how the student should respond if you happen to if a place happens to occur, a earthquake has been reported or tremor has been reported. Never try to run out of the building. Drop down, cover, and hold on. So you can take a support of a rigid table, a bench, or something like that, but never try to run out, because it can cause stampede, it can cause many number of death also, and injuries. So we live in a zone which is very safe, means to say zone 2 and zone 3, and tremors can be felt here, but the chances of earthquake of intensity more than 6 or 7 cannot happen in this region. Even in the northern part of India, if there is an earthquake, nobody will run out of the building. So in Uttarakhand, in Assam, in Haryana, in parts of Delhi, the students are trained in a such a way that whenever there is an earthquake, they drop down, cover and hold on, wait for the earthquake to stop. Then they evacuate orderly and they assemble in a safe assembly point. So this is a training that's given to the college students and school students, because college and the school are the building where the occupancy will be very high. There will be hundreds and thousands of people in a one building. So if you compare the other building, like for example office or any other building, any other public place, the occupancy will not be so high compared to college and school. So anything the wrong probably, if you are not aware about the do's and don'ts, can result into a disaster. And please make your students to sensitize about the basic issues, not the advanced disaster management we require. We require a basic issue related to what should be done, what should not be done. So in case of fire, what should be done? In case of fire, what are the things which are not supposed to be done? In earthquake, in flood, in cyclone. So if you just take a class on this subject, probably many lives can be saved during such emergency. And most of the cases yesterday I was discussing that has been reported here is road accident. And in case of road accident, we can intervene, we can sensitize the college student, because they are becoming the victims of the road accident, and they are the one who are the reckless and the rash driving drivers. So if you sensitize properly this information, definitely we can see a change in the future. Then we have a video related to earthquake. I don't think that will play here. And nearly 12% of the area here is prone to the flood in India. So it was the statistics given by the IMD, Indian Meteorological Department. But nowadays, due to the climate change, we are seeing extremely heavy rainfall in Rajasthan. Rajasthan is considered to be the drought prone, number one drought prone area, the desert area. Here we are seeing the rainfall. That's a peculiar phenomena. We have been noticing that. And the monsoon, which was supposed to start in the month of June in the southern part of India, never will start in June, and it will be pushed to the northern part, and it will rain very heavily in the northern part. So if you see the statistics, there is a change from 12 to 30% of area which is prone to the flood. So what is how it is relevant to our topic? We need to be prepared for flooding. We need to have a knowledge regarding do's and don'ts of flood. We need to have a knowledge regarding how to rescue a drowned person, a person who is drowned in a water. We need to have a knowledge regarding how to prevent drowning also. In case of flooding, for example, in your town or a city, if the department has given a red alert for the rains, so what precautions should be taken? It is a responsibility of every citizen to take the precaution. It's not only the department. So most of the district, when the red alert is given, the schools and colleges will be declared holiday, but the students will not be at home. They will be roaming around. They will be visiting to these flood affected area. They will be enjoying the water. They will be enjoying rain, and that can cause death also. That can cause injury also. So it is important to sensitize them regarding what are the risks that is involved in such a time, and at the same time what precautions should be taken. So 12% of area is prone to the flood in India, and 70% of cultivable land in India is prone to the drought. And when it comes to the drought prone area, we stand number two, means to we are in the second place. We means to say the Karnataka is in the second place for the drought prone area. Uh, First is Rajasthan. So luckily we have a sufficient rainfall every year, except this year. This year was a peculiar phenomena. It's been noticed. There is a sudden change in the rainfall pattern. At the same time, the cyclones are seen. The more number of low pressure, deep depression formation has been seen. So many changes has been noticed in Karnataka, particularly compared to the neighboring states. But we are facing drought, and 70% of cultivable land in India is prone to the drought. And during drought, there will not be a mass casualties, but there may be a spread of infections because of lack of good or hygienic water, lack of good food, hygienic food, or so the lack of water can cause the disruption, the serious disruption in related to epidemic outbreak. So that can cause breakdown in the sanitation, also sanitation facilities, and that can cause the contaminated water supply can cause disease also. So please do remember, when it comes to disaster management related to drought, the food and the water issues, the main issues that need to be addressed. And we are prone to the cyclone nearly 8%, and cyclones nowadays, it's becoming very common, very very common, and nobody remembers a cyclone nowadays. The reason is the number of death in the cyclone will be minimized to 10 or less than 10. The efforts of the IMD, Indian Meteorological Department, the efforts of the Government of India, NDMA, National Disaster Management Authority, National Disaster Response Force, and the armed forces, they are doing extraordinary work in evacuating the people during such cyclone. If the evacuation is not done, the number of death will cross more than 1,000. So please remember, cyclones are the threat or the hazards, but that is not converted into disaster because of the precautions that's been taken by the department. So nowadays, a cyclone naming has been started in the last 5 years, because the number of cyclone that is approaching Indian Ocean is increasing. So, for example, earlier we used to say 2001 cyclone, 1999 super cyclone. So, in 1 year we used to see that only one or two cyclone, but nowadays we are seeing more than 8 or 9 major cyclones that is approaching Indian Ocean prior to the monsoon and post monsoon also. So that's also should be remembered. And vulnerability profile of India, which we have just discussed, that is 58 to 60% prone for earthquake, drought prone, then flooding, then cyclone, and the chances of landslide is around 3%. So please remember this. The landslide vulnerability is very high in the Western Ghat region. The Western Ghat is highly prone for the landslide. When we discuss the disaster profile of the Karnataka state, we will be discussing that part. So why I'm discussing disaster profile of the country here is we can prepare for the mass casualty management based on the threat, based on the vulnerability profile. So that is very important. It's not that we should be preparing based on the general impression or the understanding based on the vulnerability. For example, in Karnataka, we don't have a separate ministry for the disaster management. But if you visit Uttarakhand, or if you happen to visit Assam, there is a separate ministry. Even in Maharashtra also, there is a separate ministry for the disaster management, but we don't have the separate ministry in Karnataka, for the very reason that we are not highly prone for the disaster. So earlier days, the disaster was considered as only as response. Whenever the disaster happens, we used to go there and respond. But nowadays, the phenomena has changed. It is about the preparedness and response. We have to prepare. Based on the preparedness, we can respond more better. Okay. So disaster profile of Karnataka is also important, and this is about the map of Karnataka showing the drought vulnerability. And you'll be shocked to see this, that more than 50% of the in Karnataka falls in semi-arid and arid zone. The chances of the drought in these conditions can happen more than 50%. So luckily, as I mentioned, we didn't had a drought-like situations in the past except few years, but this year the possibility is very high. The temperature rise has been reported. The lack of rainfall has been reported. The humidity is also, the percentage of humidity is changing. So drought vulnerability is very high in Karnataka, and we stand second to the Rajasthan. Then comes the flood vulnerability, particularly the Krishna and Kaveri basin is highly prone for the flooding because of the water that has been released from the Maharashtra side. So Maharashtra is a state which is having highest number of dams in India. If you consider the dams or the reservoirs in Karnataka, we have around 250 plus dams here, and the Maharashtra is having 1,600 dams. And all these dams are constructed for major river. And whenever they release the water from, whenever it crosses a danger mark, they release the water and it passes through the Karnataka. The Krishna and the Godavari basin is the main region where the flooding has been reported, even though this is a region where a very less rainfall is reported. For example, districts like Raichur, Ballari, Koppala, Bagalkote, These districts, we have scanty rainfall. It's not heavy rainfall, but still we see flooding here because of the water that's been released from the Maharashtra side. And it's a big topic, I can say, where interstate coordination should be there for proper implementation of release of water from the dams. So that is, Maharashtra is facing extreme heavy rainfall. I don't know the reason. Maharashtra is neighboring to us. I happened to visit to Maharashtra for many occasions for some many year training, but I used to see very heavy rainfall this year. But in this part, in Karnataka bordering district itself, we hardly see the rainfall. So whenever there is a heavy discharge of rainfall on the other side, on the Maharashtra side, they release water that can cause flooding. And during rainfall season, particularly the coastal part, so we can see the very heavy rainfall. You may be aware that the very heavy rainfall that's been reported, the highest rainfall is reported in Bangalore, Udupi, and Uttar Kannada district, and these are the district which receives a very heavy rainfall. And South Interior Karnataka, particularly, and the coastal Karnataka is highly prone for flooding also. And these districts need to be well prepared for the flood management, rescue, evacuation, identifying rescue shelters, and identifying the areas which can be low lying and which can be flooded during rainfall season. So again, then wind and cyclone hazard, as you know that particularly the coastal part of Karnataka is prone for the cyclone and the wind movement. And the second is the northern part of Karnataka. Whenever there is a cyclone approaching Indian Ocean, we can see the changes. We can see the wind and the rainfall, very heavy rainfall in northern part of Karnataka also. So it comes under the moderate damage risk zone, but not very high risk zone. But still, the Karnataka falls under the zoning category. If you consider for the wind and the cyclone, both the coastal and the northern part of Karnataka is prone to the cyclone and the wind-related hazard. Nearly 15 districts and the 50 talukas have been considered as a vulnerable areas. And earthquake zone. So as I was mentioning earlier, we fall under the zone 2 and zone 3. The whole of coastal Karnataka, including some neighboring districts, falls under the zone 3. Districts like Dakshina Kannada, Udupi, then Belgaum, parts of Bidar, Bijapur falls under the zone 3. The chances of tremors are up to 6.8 can happen in this area, and remaining area falls under zone 2. And zone 2 means to say the mild to moderate tremors can be felt. And we have many reports of tremors that's been reported around Karnataka. And this is tremors only. Please understand the difference between an earthquake and a tremor. A tremor is of very mild intensity, which can hardly cause any damage to the to the infrastructure in the building. But the earthquake can bring down the building, can cause a major disruption to the infrastructure also. So zone 2 and zone 3 we fall under. Then the landslide vulnerability is very high in the Western Ghats. You may be aware that we have a major trains which connects to the passes through this coastal area, that is Konkan Railway, and which will be carrying hundreds and thousands of people every day, passes through this railway track. And these railway tracks are constructed on the Western Ghats only, which is highly prone for landslides. And during rainfall season, if a landslide is reported resulting into breach of the railway track, no machine can detect that. We don't have a mechanism to detect such kind of a breach in the track. Only somebody has to notice it, inform the railways, stop the train. That's it. So if it happens few minutes before the train passes over the track, this can cause a major disaster also. So this is a picture way back from I can remember between 2018 or 2020 when there was a major landslide that's been reported in Uttar Kannada district, causing wherever the Konkan train is passing through. So this is again a cause of concern. Natural disaster means that doesn't mean only earthquake and floods. Landslide, please remember landslide, if it's happening in some hilly area, it's not of our concern. If it is happening in a area where public people occupancy is there, or railway tracks are passing through, the roads are passing through, definitely it's a serious concern, and the measures should be taken to prevent any untoward or any disaster related incidents. Then coastal erosion vulnerability, we have a coastline of around 300 kilometer, which is prone for the sea erosion. So sea erosion has been reported. The sea erosion is also considered as a disaster. And please remember, the coastal erosion is highly reported in Mangalore, in Dakshin Kannada district, and in Uttara Kannada also compared to Udupi. So there have been the CRZ need to be implemented very strongly, the coastal regulatory zone, preventing the public occupying these areas wherever the coastal erosions are there, because that can cause building collapse, that can cause injuries and death also. Right. So the disaster management cycle, particularly we are discussing about the mass casualty management. And if you remember the disaster management cycle, I'm sure that this topic was covered to you. It's not only about the response, it is more about the disaster management cycle is more about preparing ourselves based on the threat what we have. So preparedness is very important, and preparedness before that, you start with the planning, and planning will prevent mitigate means to say reduce the impact of the disaster. Then preparedness, then comes a disaster. During disaster, the rescue and relief is the first part. So mass casualty management comes here, that is in the green part, that's a rescue and relief. That's a rescue relief means to say what exactly we do in 24 to 48 hours. So disaster management doesn't stops there, it goes into the rehabilitation, it goes into the reconstruction also. It's a continuous process that should be done, the rehabilitation, reconstruction, planning, prevention, because it's not that one time phenomena. It's not that flooding happens once in a while, it can happen every year in the same place. So we need to have a planning, we need to have a mitigation, we need to have prevention methodologies also, we need to be prepared for that. So that is what the disaster management is all about. And so here we are discussing about the mass casualty management. So what is mass casualty management? And so like how we need to prepare for this. So mass casualty management will come into picture when there are more number of people who are injured. So normal clinical practice or hospital practice, if you see, generally one patient and two patients or 10 people will be there, and hospital doctors and the medical officers will be responding to that. And when it comes to a mass casualty like a stampede or like a train accident, there will be hundreds of injured people. There will be hundreds of injured people, and these hundreds of injured people, they can cause serious like there will be a total confusion and chaos in the response also, because we are lack of resources at that time. We are prepared for day-to-day emergency, we are not prepared for disasters, we are not prepared for any such disaster. We means to say, generally I'm saying, there are organizations, there are agencies, there are departments in the government who are very well prepared, but general approach, generally, not all the districts are well prepared to handle such a crisis. Not all the district. So these disasters can happen anywhere. It is not located to particularly one or two districts. A road accident, a major road accident can happen anywhere, or a major train accident can happen anywhere. So mass casualty means many a number. So MCI, what is MCI? Mass casualty management. This is after a religious function, the stampede that's been reported here. You can see that there are hundreds of people who are lying uh, dead, and it's very difficult to identify who are they, and it is very difficult to help them immediately, providing them first aid, shifting them to the hospital, because there will be huge number. So MCI approach, that is what the agencies should have: a proper planning, proper mock drill, or we can call it as the mock drill or rehearsals. We can call it a scenario based approach that can make our organizations very effective. So these responders very effective. Yesterday's incident of the parliament is fresh in our mind, that's why probably I'm recollecting that incident again and again. Probably that yesterday incident may be probably exposed us how security system in India can be breached. This is very shocking to see that the security system in India can be breached by anybody, any common man. They are not specialized, they are not trained, they are not expert, they are not professional, they are not guerrilla warfare experts. But a common man can breach a highly secured establishment in India. So this is again a serious concern, how we are well prepared for disasters. So whether our organizations are, how effectively we are prepared to handle such situations. So this is a serious concern. I'm also probably during my introduction it was introduced. I am also resource person for the Government of Karnataka Administrative Training Institute and also the department, the police department, the police academy. These are the two departments which are the line department which will be working during disaster. So definitely the organization need to be strong. We need to be responsible in probably delivering our duties during such emergencies. Okay, so any incident where the number of injured overwhelming the capabilities of the first arriving unit is called a mass casualty incident. And usually it involves trauma, but could be acute radiation, it could be a biological weapon or poisoning from alcohol. So many things are there. This can happen. Road traffic accidents also can happen. Building collapse also, there will be many number of people. So we have to remember the MCA approach next time. Whenever there is a building collapse or whenever you see a case of a stampede, remember the triage and MCI approach. So remember, and nowadays you get to see the visuals live from the site before the emergency responders reaches there. The media people will be there reporting live from the field, and you can see that how effectively well coordinated approach from the various agencies will be there, and whether the MCI was implemented. What is MCI? Mass Casualty Incident Response System. We call it as MCI approach. Okay. So mass casualty incident, it will produce several patients, and more than six, more than 10 also. According to the police department definition, when we can call it as a mass casualty is more than 10 if the death crosses 10 and injured crosses more than 50. All right. So the three things are very important in lessening the injuries. That is rapid triage, immediate search, and rapid triage. So what is triage? We are going to learn now, and then transport to the nearest hospital facility. So MCI is means to say my resources may be less. For example, Odisha train accident. Definitely, you can remember that the incident that recently happened. So during that time, how many hospitals are nearby? How many beds are there in the hospital? We consider the hospital based on the number of bed which is available there, which is wrong. So we should consider how many experts are there, how many trained people are there, how many paramedics are there, how many oxygen cylinders are there, how many OT facilities are there. So consider the resources based on the expertise that is available in the nearest healthcare facility. So when it is less, we need to prioritize who needs assistance first. So who is our patient? So who is our patient means to say the severely injured, naturally. So we need to have the first responder need to have the knowledge to segregate them into severely injured, major injured, and less severely injured. Okay, fine. So time is very important. Remember the golden 1 hour concept. So golden 1 hour concept is it's a critical trauma patient has got few minutes to hour from the time of injury till he get the surgical care. That's the first 1 hour decides how many people are going to survive in that incident. Please remember, in any terrorist attack, building collapse, major road accident, train accident, the first 1 hour will decide how many are going to survive, how many are going to die. It depends on the first 1 hour response. We call it as golden hour. And during golden hours, we need more number of trained resource, trained manpower. We need trained volunteers. We need trained people from the various departments. So it is very important that you also can be a part of such disaster response, provided you have undergone the trainings related to that. Not only online trainings, but actual training. We means to say, actual means to say a physical training, one-to-one training that will help you to learn the skills and to implement the skills to save your life during emergencies. Okay, so golden 1 hour is the point that need to be remembered in mass casualty management. Yesterday's topic, when we were discussing about the very important issue about the platinum 10 minute, means to say what exactly you are supposed to do in first 10 minutes. If someone is not breathing after drowning in water, or someone is trapped inside the fire, so because of the smoke he is unconscious, so first 10 minutes will decide whether he is going to be alive or not, not 1 hour. Please don't mistake platinum 10 minute with the golden 1 hour. I can remember during most of the heart attack cases, the people mistake this golden 1 hour. They say that in golden 1 hour we should get the treatment done. No, 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 no. For heart attack cases, it is platinum 10 minute apply. If the heart stops functioning, if the breathing stops functioning, you need to respond, you need to help, you need to provide the first aid within 10 minutes. So don't delay it for 1 hour. 1 hour is a too big time. 1 hour is only applicable for mass casualties. It is applicable for injuries. It is applicable for patients who are conscious, who are breathing, not for a person who is unconscious and not breathing. So don't mistake that. I have commonly seen in the media during a Puneet Rajkumar death also, a tragic death of Puneet Rajkumar, the great personality. He died of a massive heart attack. He died of a massive heart attack. He had a symptoms. He reported to clinic. He collapsed suddenly there, and the people were thinking that it was shown in the media during golden hour. They reported, no, 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 it is not golden hour. Is not applicable there. It is platinum 10 minute. What exactly the bystander will do in 10 minutes will decide whether he is going to be alive or whether he is going to be dead. So I'm quoting the example, the tragic example of Puneet Rajkumar. The reason is that incident is every one of us has witnessed, we have seen, and we felt the pain of his death. So that is the reason I'm telling there are hundreds of people who are dying every day in India due to lack of response in the first 10 minutes. The first 10 minutes is very crucial, very important to be remembered in case of any such emergency. So within 10 minutes, no facilities will be available. You cannot get ambulance in 10 minutes. You cannot get a paramedic or a nurse in 10 minutes. You cannot get a doctor in 10 minutes. It is not possible. It is important to remember what you do in 10 minutes is more important than what you do in 10 minutes is more important. Okay. All right, fine. So casualties, resources plus time is the maximum survivor. So resources should be balanced for the casualties. We need to have sufficient number of ambulances. We need to have sufficient number of stretchers. We need to have sufficient number of experts at the hospital. For example, a 100-bed hospital in a taluka headquarter may be having 3 doctors or 5 doctors. So 3 or 5 doctors cannot help 100 people. It is not possible. Practically, it is not possible. So don't, that's a 100-bedded hospital. Just by taking a patient, admitting him to the hospital, making him to rest on a bed will not help him to recover. So we count the hospital into counting the number of bed there. Generally, you may have seen this. I have seen the DM plans of various districts where they mention we have 300 bedded hospital, we have 500 bedded hospital. That is not at all relevant there. What is important and relevant there is how many doctors you have there, how many anesthetists you have there, or how many oxygen cylinders you have in store, how many cylinders you can provide during emergency. COVID is the best example. People died due to lack of oxygen cylinders. So if you have doctors also, they cannot do anything. When the oxygen cylinder is not there, anesthetist is not there. So please understand, resources doesn't mean only the number of beds in the hospital. The resources means experts and the manpower we need to have during such emergencies. So maximum number of survivors based on the casualties and the resources and the time. Time is very crucial here. So if you are a part of emergency response, every minute counts there. Every minute counts there. Okay. So response categories in the mass casualty, like civil disturbances, like the conflict that's taking place in Gaza, Israel, or in Ukraine. So that kind of disturbances also demands a mass casualty approach. Natural disaster, major fire, and the terrorist attack. It reminds me of the terrorist attack that happened in Maharashtra, Mumbai, way back in 2009. So if you remember, not 2009, before that, I feel not. I cannot remember the exact year of 26/11. The 26/11 incident, the terrorist attack. If the mass casualty incident system was followed, if the agencies have,
Uh,
sorry,
Hello.
yes,
Sir, what is,
sorry, sir, your voice is muted again.
yeah, can you repeat that? Which incident you spoke, like 26?
Yeah, 26/11. That is a US incident. We have an
Okay,
incident the same like that in the terrorist attack in India. So
okay,
that, yeah, yeah. So 26/11 is an incident that happened in USA. There also the mass casualty system was followed. But the terrorist attack that happened in India, that's in Mumbai, during that time. So if the agencies have followed the triage system or the mass casualty incident system, the number of death could have been brought down into tens. The total number of people died in that incident, the terrorist attack way back in 2009, is around 169 people died in that incident. The reason why, how we can bring down the casualties into 10, that is a real question. The 10 people died due to direct bullet injuries. The remaining are the injured people who have sustained a major injury, but they were not shifted to the hospital in the golden 1 hour. In the hospital, inside the hospital, there was a total chaos and confusion. There are hundreds of people inside the hospital. There were reporters, media people, politicians, curious onlookers, relatives, everyone. It was like a war field inside the hospital. And all these people were trying to get the attention of the doctors to get their relatives treated. And doctor ended up treating a minor injured people, and those people who were unconscious were not shifted from the site itself. If you go and read the Mumbai terrorist attack incident that is there on the net, nearly 700 page, when the Hotel Taj was attacked. Before that, they attacked many other public buildings. The terrorists, if you read that document, many people who were unconscious after an injury, the person who are shifting them thought they were dead. They were not shifted. So the person who needs to be assisted first were not attended at all. The person with a minor injury were shifted to the hospital, and the doctors and nurses ended up treating them. And politicians used to call these doctors or medical officers, asking them to help their supporters or relatives or whoever. So that is not the system. The system that should be there is called MCI system, which the government of India is very well prepared. The two departments in India are very well prepared for this. The two department, one is the defense. The second department, which is very well prepared for this MCA approach and the triage, is the Airport Authority of India. The Airport Authority of India, in case of a major, for example, if there is a flight crash, in that scene, in that scenario, also they do the triage, they do the mass casualty approach. But the civilian administration are unaware about the triage and MCI. If you ask a 108 ambulance guy, do you have a triage tag? You just ask this question, do you have a triage tag? He will ask you back, what is triage, sir? He is not trained about triage. He is not trained about mass casualty management. But they were the part of the total mass casualty management. They should be trained. The civilian administration should be trained. Armed forces are very familiar with these approaches, MCI approach. This is a high time that we should also focus on saving lives. We focus on many other things. We have reached to the moon, but we cannot protect our own parliament. See, this is the reality of today. This is very shocking, debatable. I do agree. Whatever you may disagree with what I'm saying, but the very shocking is we are not focusing on saving lives. Saving lives is at most important. Lives are precious. Even a one life in USA, the administration will take care to save. But in here, we have to be more responsive. We have to be more prepared. Okay. Anyway, coming back to the topic, response categories for mass casualty we just discussed. During a terrorist attack, also triage can be followed. So this is 26/11, and so what exactly the preparation? We need a pre-planning. Training is critical. We need to have SOPs, the standard operating procedure. So standard operating procedure is like a guideline to you. what exactly the each department is supposed to do when there is a mass casualty. Okay, so if they are provided with the SOP and the training, they can respond. To responding on their own understanding, it's very difficult. So that should be there. Implementation of incident command. Some of you may be trained on incident command. Some of you who have undergone training at the ATI might have undergone the training on the incident command system. The incident command means to say, whenever there is an emergency in a district, the incident commander is a deputy commissioner. All the department need to be working in coordination with the deputy commissioner. They will not be acting independently. Each department, the incident commander is the deputy commissioner, and they have to report to the deputy commander only. I mean, incident commander only, and the incident commander is supposed to mention all these things. So the first 5 minutes will determine the next 5 hours. So that is in mass casualty. And the implementation of incident command means to say we establish the command near an incident. If there is a bomb blast, or if there is a building collapse, the incident command post will be set up on the site near to in a safe area outside the perimeter, and that is meant to save, that is meant to proper coordination with the various departments. Okay, fine. So what are the problems in mass casualties in India, and who is in command of the incident? This is clearly written in the DM plan of the 2004, Disaster Management Act of 2005, which clearly defines the incident commander is the deputy commissioner, and the location of the command post and the establishment of the perimeter. All these technical terms I'm using, I'm not sure whether you're familiar with this terminology. Please understand this. Deputy commissioner in the district is a head of an incident. If there is an industrial accident, he has to give the command. It's not the industry. He has to take the command. He has to coordinate with the department. He has all the details will be there in front of the incident commander. How many hospitals we have, how many ambulances we have, how many stretchers we have, how many experts we have, everything will be there. So they can coordinate with the various departments to provide an effective response. That is mass casualty incident management system. Okay. All right. So this is a mass casualty incident. You can see in the picture, and in this incident, the primary attention. If we have more than 100 people who are injured, we categorize them. We categorize them based on the severity of injury, and we shift them only those who are having red tag or severity number 1. So severity number 2, severity number 3. We categorize that into 1, 2, 3 category. And how exactly we do that, we are going to learn now. Mass casualty incident. So the first one is perimeter establishment should be established. What is perimeter establishment? For example, perimeter means to say, you may have seen in the movies, English movies particularly, they put do not cross this line. So they put that police or do not cross this. That's a perimeter. Perimeter means to say inside that area it is high risk or dangerous. So perimeter establishment is very important to prevent other people entering in the area. They may be in the risk. Large crowd of people will be there. They need to be moved. Media involvement will be there. Definitely they need to be managed. Political involvement will be there. Definitely they need to be managed. Inadequate resources will be there. That's where MCI we have to introduce. So all these things happens during a mass casualty. In such a casualty, an officer who is working on the ground will be managing these kind of pressures. Media, political, large crowds of people, inadequate resources. So if we have a good idea on MCI or a triage, so the procedure can be simplified. So what exactly is a triage? That's a real question now. So establishing mass casualty management system. So mass casualty management system means the objective is to minimize the loss of life and the disability during such emergency. The main objective is to minimize the loss of life and the disability and the management of victim of a mass casualty event. That's important. So mass casualty management system, it is based on the pre-established procedures. We have SOP. SOP is clearly written there. If you happen to see, it is in the online also, it is in the internet also. You can download this document, the PDF documents of the district disaster management plan of Bangalore, Mysore, or any other district, Bangalore also. You can download this document. If you download this document, you can see this document also online. If you read this document, there is a pre-established procedure. For example, if there is a plane crash at the Mangalore airport or near Mangalore airport, what the DC should do, what the assistant commissioner should do, what the police officers should do, what the RTO is supposed to do. So what are the other officers who are supposed to do? What is SOP? Which is the safest route to approach? So which are the nearest hospital? So this is what the pre-established procedure is all about. If you read this document, it is very informative and very interesting to know that we have established procedure. We have. So it's not that we have established procedures and we have SOPs also. It is clearly written on, it is mandatory under the Disaster Management Act of the 2005 that every district should have a DM plan, the disaster management plan, and every district is having that. But only thing is, when it comes to implementation, we are not able to successfully implement pre-established procedure. So that's where we are lacking. So that we need to improve on. Maximization of existing resource should be done, and then multi-sectoral preparation and response should be there, and strong pre-planned and tested coordination should be there. So what are the approaches of MCI? So we are coming to the exact topic now, which is very simple to understand. I was talking about MCI repeatedly, mass casualty incident, mass casualty. So you may be wondering what is MCI? We have three approaches for MCI: scoop and run, classical approach, and mass casualty management system. Okay. So scoop and run means to say, even today we are in this system. This system was adopted in most of the countries in 1960s and 70s. What is scoop and run? This is scoop and run. So you can see in this picture, scoop and run means to say, get hold of any injured person who is near to you, take him to the hospital, shift him to the hospital with your own methodology. This is scoop and run. Scoop and run means to say, we just imagine if you have a scoop of ice cream and you have a spoon. What you do, you start randomly. That's what scoop and run matlab. We don't have a coordinated approach. We don't have a standard approach. Scoop and run method. These are the two pictures. Very sad to say, they are not shifting dead body. They are shifting the injured people. And just see how untrained, unprofessional way they are holding it. This is very sad. Now the things are changing slowly. Most of the departments are getting trained, but it should be implemented also at the field level. See, if you are holding a casualty like this, a person will end up with a spinal injury. The injuries will get aggravated. So scoop and run matlab, in case of a train accident, there are hundreds of injured. So you will not check whether he is severely injured. You will not check whether he is really needs the help. You will not check whether he is breathing or not breathing. You just hold him, run him, put him in some vehicle, send to the hospital. If we do that, what will happen? The hospital will be overwhelmed with the number of patients who may not require any help at all, who are having a minor injuries. So shift the person on the first priority. Everyone need to be shifted. I fully agree. But prioritize who needs assistance first, who is going to die, who can be saved. That's a scoop and run. So scoop and run is the most common. It doesn't require any specific technical training, and it is justified for small number. For example, if there is a road accident, 4 injured people are there, you are shifting 4. Agreed, fully agreed, justified. But it is not justified for a mass casualty where the number of people injured are more than 200, 300, or thousands. So may just transfer the problem to the hospital. We are not solving the problem there. What we are doing is we are shifting the problem from the disaster side to the hospital. We assume that once they reach the hospital, they get everything, all the facility there. How they can do? Hospital also have the limitation. They can treat this much number of patients only. If you are sending 100 people there, where the experts are 3 or 4 and OT is 2, operation theater is 2, so how they can provide any assistance to them for person who needs a physical assistance? So we need to divert them, we need to categorize them. So how to divert that we are going to run. So please understand, this is what scoop and run method. Scoop and run means to say, just person who is near to you, shift him to the hospital. So your problem from the disaster side to the hospital only. We are not solving a problem. Still we are in this technique. Still we are in this method only, scoop and run. Most of the incidents are managed, handled in the same way. What is second approach? The second, this is again, these are the picture from the firecracker tragedy that happened in Kerala. During that time, how the people are shifting. Just see the pictures. I do agree that good thing they came forward to help. They need to be trained. Okay, it's not that just coming forward to help will help anybody. So we need to have the knowledge to properly shift. We are not helping here. We are creating one more problem here. So this is a picture from Kerala. You may have seen this picture from in the newspaper also. This is scoop and run technique. Scoop and run means get hold of anybody who is injured, just transfer it to the hospital. We don't require any specific training for this. So it is applicable for small group, not for the large group. Okay. What is classical approach? The second approach is called classical approach, and most of the countries are following the classical approach of the MCI, mass casualty incident management system. The first responders are trained. They have basic triage knowledge. They have field care knowledge. They disregard the receiving hospital from the field, quickly result in chaos. Most of our metro cities are prepared for classical. So I was working in Delhi. I was been a part of many trainings of Delhi. I have seen AIMS is very well prepared with the classical approach. Means to say there are hospitals who are very well prepared. There are agencies at Delhi, at the national capital, very well prepared with the classical approach. This is classical approach. Still, again, it is not complete. So classical approach means only first responders are trained. We do not communicate with the hospital. If there is a bomb blast in a city, nobody will call a hospital and tell that we are going to shift so many people to your hospital. Everyone will call ambulance only. They shift, but the doctors and the hospital authorities who are receiving it are unaware totally how many number of patients they are going to receive it, what preparation they are supposed to do. So this is very important to involve the hospital also in the approach. So with classical approach is having a drawback that doesn't involve the hospital. So classical approach means this is a picture from Mecca. This is during the Hajj. So Mecca is you may be aware that it's a where the stampede took place way back 2 to 3 years before. There will be lakhs of people in Mecca, particularly for the religious function. They will be gathering there. It's a holy place for the Muslims, and in that the armed forces there, the civilian officers and the police officers there, they are trained on the classical approach. What they are doing here is they're not shifting everyone. If you see by the side on your left side, there are dead bodies that's been kept. So the dead bodies will not be shifted to the hospital. Nobody will shift the hospital. He may shift a dead body also to the hospital. So classical approach means they are following the standard technique, they are following the triage, they are following the standard method, everything, but disregard to the hospital. The hospital is not involved in the loop at all. So that is should be involved in the approach. So some countries are very well prepared with this classical approach. We also with the classical approach, but at the same time, not all the cities are, all the armed forces or all the police personnel are trained with the classical approach. All right. So what is the third approach? That is called mass casualty management approach, which is considered to be the most sophisticated approach, which includes the pre-established procedures for the resource mobilization, field management, and the hospital reception also. I have a video related to this, but I don't know whether the video will play with whatever the Wi-Fi connection I have. So most sophisticated approach includes the mass casualty management approach, where resource mobilization will be there. So DC, once he get the deputy commissioner or the incident commander, once he gets the information that there are 12 seriously injured people, so he will say, shift 3 to this hospital, shift 3 to this hospital, shift 3 to the other hospital. So they can coordinate. And the hospital also will receive a call saying that we are going to shift a severely injured person, 3 or 4 people to your hospital, prepare your OT, keep your oxygen ready, keep your anesthetist ready. So the resource mobilization, we have the data on the resources, what we have, that is the mass casualty management approach. Field management, even the ambulance people are trained to, particularly there is a coordination, they work, they report to the incident commander, the field team reports to the incident commander, and the hospital team, once they receive the persons, so they are not going to admit them immediately, they are going to check whether it's severely injured. It's severely injured only will be taken inside, other will be provided with the first aid or whatever the necessary treatment. So that is a mass casualty management approach. Remember the three approach which we have, that is, this is wrong, scoop and run. This is totally wrong approach, scoop and run approach. This should not be done. Many people are saying to me whenever we conduct training, ಕನ್ನಡದಲ್ಲಿ ನನಗೆ ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ, ಸರ್ ಏನ್ ಮಾಡೋದು ಸರ್, ಜೀವ ಉಳಿಸುವಂತ ಸಂದರ್ಭದಲ್ಲಿ ಎಲ್ಲದನ್ನು ನೋಡ್ಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಆಗೋಲ್ಲ. ಸೊ ನಮಗೆ ಆ ಸಂದರ್ಭದಲ್ಲಿ ಅನ್ಸೋದು ಯಾರನ್ನ ಸಾಧ್ಯ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ ಅವ್ರನ್ನ ಶಿಫ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡೋಣ ಅಂತ. Okay, but that is not right. That is not right. Scoop and run should not be there, and the proper approach is not scoop and run. The proper approach is the classical approach or the mass casualty incident management approach. Okay, so what is mass casualty incident approach? We will take up that. We are going to break now for the tea. So sorry madam, ನಿಮ್ಮ mic on ಇದೆ ಅನ್ಸುತ್ತೆ. Okay, so mass casualty. Okay, the mass casualty management approach, it includes the training of various levels of responders. It's not only the first responder, even the hospital staff and the paramedic and the medics are trained about how to respond to a disaster. It incorporates the links between the field and healthcare facility. The command post will be established. Multi-sectoral response will be established, dependent on the availability of the large amount of human material resource. Do you remember any incident in our country where mass casualty management approach was done? So it is difficult if you try to remember any incident, but we do fantastic work in the natural disaster management. That's about the cyclone. The number of death has been brought down into tens. Earlier, the thousands of people are going to die during a cyclone. Now it has been reduced to 10 because of the efforts of various departments. But when it comes to mass casualty, we have to definitely we need to improve our skills and follow the established practices and the procedure. Okay, all right, so we'll go to the next part, that is about the triage. What is triage? That is after the break. Okay, I think 3:15 is the time for the tea. I think up to we'll be rejoining after 3:15. That's at 3:15. Is it okay, madam? Shall we break for the tea now? 3:15 now?
Yes, sir.
Oh, okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay, ma'am. So we'll break for the tea now. We'll continue after the tea break at 3:45. Thank you very much. If you have any questions and doubts, you can ask at 3:45 after the tea break. So if you can write your questions also, you can type and send through the messages also, whatever the questions you have. I'm sure this is a technical topic. It's a bit difficult to follow what I'm saying. In the simple terms, what I can say is we need to have an established procedure for mass casualty management. That's all. So we'll break, we'll continue after the tea break. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.